Teruvan Saranai to all of you. With the objective of spreading the Buddhism around the world, today I have the great pleasure of introducing Chief Advisor to Sri Sudasanarama Sadam Senasuna Monastery at Battaramulla, Most Venerable Dr. Mirise Dhammika to the studio, discuss about the practicality of the Buddhism. Venerable Sir, before, rather than I introducing yourself, I would oblige to request you to introduce a bit about yourself to start with.
Thank you and Anumodana, dear friends and devotees. Also, today I'm happy to be with you, Mr. Ruwan Karagala. First of all, I would like to say thank you and Anumodana to the Chief Advisor and the President of JAYA TV, Most Venerable Kashyapa Mahatera, with the great pleasure of my mind, which is coming from bottom of the heart. I would like to explain what we are going to do today in brief. Of course, with the invitation of you and your group, I would like to engage in this kind of discussions to explain who is the Buddha, at the same time what type of teachings the Buddha taught us to practice daily. As you asked me to give a short definitions of my career or background, I would like to say I sacrificed completely to Buddha's order, that means Buddha Sasana. I became a monk at the age of 8. It's very small time in my life period. Of course, at that time, I didn't have any kind of feelings of knowledge about the Buddha's teachings. But I think it's a kind of sansaric. Sansara means the circle of death and birth. It's a kind of sansaric habit and kind of feelings of my sansaric journey. And then I wanted to become a monk. My school was in a temple premises in my rural area, in my hometown. Every day when I go to drink water to well, and then I saw some monks are walking. At the same time, they are doing kind of religious activities. At that time, I was fascinated in their behavior. And then I came home and then I asked my mom to, I need to become a monk. And then at the beginning, she did not give me approval. She refused my request. But when I repeat my request, actually she gave me a permission and then she took me to the temple. And then Venerable Nayakotera, chief incumbent of my rural area Vihara, actually thank you to my chief incumbent of rural Vihara. He gave me this chance. Of course, just he said to me he was happy to take me to supervise under his supervision, and then he asked me to stay at the temple. This is how my journey started. And then I got my ordination at the age of 9. After that, I got a monastic training under my senior venerable monks for a few years. Also, actually, I practice on meditation. It's especially good for monks. And then I passed the O-level and A-level exams. Also, I entered the Columbia University in 1983. I got my bachelor degree in Colombo University. After that, I was appointed as a government teacher to Deshana College in Colombo 7. I served to thousands of students while teaching Buddhism and Sinhala. Actually, when I think about my past with Deshana College, I had great pleasure because of my service with thousands of students, especially boys, I had a chance to open my heart to them. At the same time, I invited to them to be kind and wise according to the Buddha's noble teachings. With the invitations of Buddhist Vihara Society in Canada, I left Sri Lanka in 1995, and then I did lots of services in Canada, Vancouver, city of Vancouver. At the same time, I got a chance to follow the master degree in education. Just after completed my master's, actually with the invitation of my supervisory committee, I got a chance to continue my PhD. And then I completed my PhD in education 2004. Though I had lots of chances to work over there, but I prefer to come back to Sri Lanka to do some services to this Buddha's order. This is what happened to my past period of time.
So we are blessed to have you, Bhante, here with us with that kind of a number of years of experience, and more than that, seeing the globe around and practicing the Buddhism around the world. To start our conversation, I'm going to ask a simple yet a very complex question which always confuse individual like us. It's a very simple question. Who is a Buddhist, and what should be the goal of a Buddhist?
Before answering for that, Mr. Ruan, we have to clarify who is the Buddha, and then we can realize who is a Buddhist. So, who is the Buddha? All of you may ask yourself. Also, non-Buddhist may ask you, who is the Buddha? What should be the answer? Answer should be simply, but great. That means, the Buddha means nothing but compassion and wisdom. The Buddha means nothing but compassion and wisdom. There are so many clarifications on the Buddha. Of course, just we have to teach step by step. We have to learn and practice with our own thoughts about the Buddha and about the teachings. Simply again, I would like to remind you, who is the Buddha? Answer should be, the Buddha means nothing but compassion and wisdom. Therefore, whoever comes to the Buddha asking for happiness, especially people are coming to the Buddha from all over the world, asking for happiness. What happiness is should be the answer. Especially, happiness means mentally you have to be satisfied with your own action. It could be mental, it could be physical, it could be verbal. With these three areas within yourself, you have to be satisfied. How do we approach this kind of happiness? So that's why the Buddha existed on this earth. The Buddha was supreme, kind, greatest teacher, I would say. Compared to any human beings who existed on this earth, just we have to say, Buddha was the supreme human being who was so kind. You know, think about yourself. Sometimes you may qualify it in your worldly subject. You could be a specialist doctor, very experienced engineer, or accountant, lawyer, etc. But still, you may have kind of attachment to your own family. Just think about yourself. How about your family background? When you're coming from your family background, you may have a kind of feelings of attachment to your family. I love you, my mom. I love you, my dad. Also, if you are married person, And then you have to say, I'm doing everything because of my children. Without my kids, I can't survive. I can't live on this earth. I'm doing everything because of my children or kids. You have to say. Sometimes you may explain again. So that's why you have to have attachment to your family or your loved ones. But compared to Supreme Buddha, when we think about his past, I mean, before becoming the Buddha, he had a family. He got married to Princess Yasodhara, and he got a child named Rahula. Of course, he sacrificed his whole life because of this all kind of beings. Even when we talk about the Buddha's past, we call as his the period of fulfilling perfections. In Pali term is parami. When he fulfills perfections of parami, he sacrificed all kind of his past lives. That means he wanted to find solutions to get rid of this suffering or unsatisfactory lives. So that's actually he practiced 10 kind of perfections of paramis. Even he came to this very life, that means in his Buddha's enlightenment time, he sacrificed his own family. Also his lifestyle is very luxurious, what he got being a king. Yeah, actually he had lots of facilities. He sacrificed everything. And then he came to a jungle or forest. Actually, he went through lots of hard time. You may have heard about that he practiced for 6 years. He went through lots of hard time or hard period. Sometimes he refused to have enough food. At the same time, he meditated a lot. How to get rid of this suffering or sansaric journey or circle of death and birth. Actually, and then we have to say the Buddha was the supreme human being who ever existed on this earth. At the same time, with his enlightenment or Buddhahood, he realized nothing is permanent. Transient are all component things. Everything is impermanent. Simply we have to say. And then by saying nothing is permanent, just you have to keep in your mind, we are not asking to cry by thinking everything is impermanent, but to be mindful what's going to be happen with our own lives. See what's happening. Even with this current moment, for each moment we are changing our time. We are losing our mental and physical energy by knowing this truth, not to cry, but to be mindful. That means take care of yourself. Simply, what does it mean? For millions, billions lives, we have suffered, including yourself and myself. And then we got this rare chance, Mr. Ruan Karagala. We have got this rare chance. That means being a human is so rare. According to the teachings of the Buddha said, Dullabancha manusattang o manusatta patilabo dullabo. It's this rare chance, that means being a human. Compared to animal world, can you count animal world? Answer should be, we are not able to count animal world, but we are able to count human heads. At the present moment, human population is 8 billion. You have to give a great appreciation to yourself. Rather than being an animal and you become a human. Rather than become an animal, I became a human. I got this rare chance. So, but we have to train our mind to accept the truth. What does it mean? Nothing is permanent. Sabbe sankhara anicchati. All transient, all component things are transient. By knowing this truth, of course, you have to respect yourself. You have to appreciate this great opportunity. That means, being a virtuous person, study well, work hard, find a job, make money should be rightful. And then it depends on you. It's your wish. You can get married, have kids, find any other facilities, what you are looking for as your benefits, and then do some service. Why I would say you have to do some service? Because we can't do everything by our own. We have to have lots of support from other people. Is that right? Yes. Doctors, engineers, lawyers, teachers, everybody. They are contributing their service to this human world. Of course, yourself. It doesn't matter what kind of field you are in at the moment. But being a human, just if it is not kind of you are doing evil things, of course you have to do your service. It doesn't matter. Even the person who is cleaning the road, of course he's doing a great job because they are supporting us to keep this environment clean. So we have to respect everybody. You have to respect yourself by thinking it's a great chance I got this human life. And then being kind yourself first with your own experience, like metta and karuna. Metta means friendliness, loving kindness. Practicing metta. Metta means, Mr. Ruan, it's not love. L-O-V-E. Love means a kind of selfish. People used to say, I love you, keeping behind as long as you love me. Simply, otherwise mind your business. People used to say, it's a kind of way of love. But when we talk about metta, which comes in Buddhism, simply we have to say friendliness. That means without asking for anything in return. Without asking for anything in return, just our mind is trained to spread over, regardless of gender, color, country, religion, whatever. Freely, our mind is ready to spread over. As that, it is metta, loving kindness. So, nothing is permanent. By knowing this truth, be a kind person. Compassion or kindness means when you see others suffering or problems or hard time, you have to have a feelings of empathy. And you are able to realize how about yourself, myself, and how about others' feelings. Having comparison my own feelings and conceptions, I understand others' feelings. Nobody wants to be beaten by anyone else. Everybody loves themselves. By knowing this truth, I have to be kind, and then I have to help everybody to get rid of these problems or stress. So, each time when we think about the Buddha, just we have to ask ourselves to be a kind person. Simply say, Mr. Ruan, traditionally we used to take refuge in the Buddha by reciting Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. I take refuge in the Buddha. That means you are not supposed to follow the Buddha's footpath. Of course, you have to follow the Buddha's footpath, but it means you have to follow the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha said, someone would say, I like the Buddha, I love the Buddha, I'll be there all the time. By saying, who is holding the Buddha's piece of rope or Buddha's corner of rope, but who is not mindful with his own life. At the same time, who is not observed, who is not concerned on what life is. Therefore, who is greedy, also who is angry. That means, though who is holding the Buddha by saying, I like the Buddha, I love the Buddha, I'll be there, though he is not close to the Buddha. But someone is so kind and wise, sometimes who is away from thousands of miles from the Buddha, but still who is mindful. Also who is so generous, who is helping everybody which is needy. That means who is so close to the Buddha, who is following the Buddha's footpath, also who is the real follows the Buddha. Therefore, when we recite Buddhan Saranang Gacchami, or when we take refuge in the Buddha, we have to promise ourselves to be kind and wise. That means, the Buddha means nothing but compassion, nothing but compassion and wisdom. Therefore, Mr. Ruan, if you ask me, now who is a Buddhist? Buddhist means who is kind and wise. Thank you.
Yeah, so as we are running out of time, I would pick one word which was mentioned, which I feel as one of the main reasons why the world is where what is today at, is lack of compassion.
Yes.
And how can Lord Buddha's teaching can help us to overcome this problem, that lack of compassion in this world?
Yes, we as Buddhists believe in rebirth. This is not our first life, or if you are not going to eradicate of all kind of desires or craving, definitely we are going to continue this journey of death and birth. That means rebirth. Therefore, we have to teach our fellow beings, being a human is so rare. We had suffered for millions, billions lives in the past. Therefore, you have to appreciate your rare chance. But remember, you love yourself. And then, why not you have to invite yourself to think about others? According to the Buddha's words, Attanang upamang kattva. You have to take your own life as example. As I explained before, nobody wants to be eaten by anyone else. Everybody loves themselves. Everybody is asking for happiness, especially mental happiness, by thinking this way. Think about other people. Even before expressing your words or thoughts, before putting into word or before putting into action, think about the outcome of your action. It could be mental, verbal, or physical. Think about your action, whether it's going to be right or bad, good or evil. If it is evil or bad, definitely think about yourself, and then think about others, and then not to do it. But if you feel, oh, is that all right, and then you don't want to think twice, just it's all right, and then you have to put into action. Slowly, you have to start with your family members, loved ones, under one roof, and then you can improve your practices towards your adults, teachers, relatives, and villagers. Finally, you may end up with fellow human beings, but practice with your own experiences.
So, Venerable Sir, it is my great pleasure to thank you and to wish you, Bhante, the blessings of the Noble Triple Gems to continue your noble work, and for your wise words that just been mentioned today, and may you live long.
Thank you. Same to you.